It's the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. I'm Shasheena Rolle. As always, it is so great to have you with us. The government says it is satisfied that the requisite legislative regime is now in place for the proposed national referendum on web shop gaming and a national lottery to take place, and they will be moving ahead with the January 28th referendum. In the House of Assembly today, National Security Minister and Minister responsible for the Parliamentary Registration Department, the Honorable Bernard Nottage, said despite recent concerns raised about the web shop question, there is no need for concern.
They indicated a preference for the word legalization in its stead. In my response to them, I pointed out that the questions which were contained in the order issued by the Governor General on January 2nd accurately reflected the propositions upon which the government wishes the public to vote. I also expressed disappointment that the objections were not made when the questions were presented to them earlier. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, I pointed out to them that an unlawful activity cannot be regulated, and that the word regulation implicitly covers legalization, so they need have no concern.
Now, tomorrow is the deadline for persons to register to vote in the referendum. Dr. Nottage also noted that Section 80 of the referendum regulations provides for appeals to be heard by a referendum tribunal headed by the Chief Justice and a Justice of the Supreme Court. He said a simple majority will decide the way forward for the country on both questions.
Each question will be considered separately. Do you support web shop gaming, regulation and taxation of web shop gaming, yes or no? Do you support the establishment of a national lottery, yes or no? As there are no election candidates, there will be no election agents in this referendum. Instead, the regulations empower the minister to appoint a number of local observers with a view to ensuring the fairness of the process.
Now, an advance poll will be held on Monday, January 21st. As the January 28th referendum draws near, a local religious leader is taking a look at the psychological impact of gambling. Sabrina Brown reports.
Addiction is described as a compulsive, repeated behavior characterized by a complete loss of control. Pastor of Central Zion Baptist Church, Reverend Elvis Burrows, says gambling can be addictive.
Unlike other addictions, you can't smell it on their breath. They can probably walk in a straight line. They don't look affected as someone who may be taking drugs or alcohol. But that doesn't change the fact that it's present. The addiction is there.
The religious leader adds that there are no class barriers when it comes to addiction. In addition to crime and other social ills, Pastor Burrows is concerned about the effects of gambling on family life.
When a husband who's supposed to be the leader in his home, he takes his money and he gambles it out. And he comes home without a paycheck. What does he say to his wife? That is where the problems come in. When there are no finances in the house, it causes arguments, it causes conflicts, and then the children are caught in the middle. And then what you have? Verbal abuse. And if you're not careful, that can escalate to physical abuse, all because the resources that are supposed to go to enrich and enhance the family is now being used in illicit activities.
As the January 28th referendum looms, he's encouraging eligible voters to take a serious look at the issue at hand.
Once it becomes legal, if it does, and God forbid if it does, then our country becomes a culture of gambling, meaning that everybody now can do it. And so the consequences, I feel, could be far-reaching. But it's upon us. We must be real about it.
Pastor Burrows is also appealing to Bahamians to exercise maturity as they go through this process.
We are attacking the issue, not the individuals. A problem, not people. It's not a fight between the church and the state. It's an issue that the church feels strongly about, and the church has decided that it would let its voice be heard. We know Mr. Christie was coming with the referendum. He told us that, and he came with it. So we're not fighting Mr. Christie. We're not fighting the number bosses. We are fighting an issue.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
And still on the hottest topic in the country, a vocal proponent of gambling says a yes vote to the referendum is what the country needs. Veteran journalist Oswald Brown says the funds derived from taxes could help to build the nation's youth.
We have some excellent sports people doing some wonderful things, like when the Golden Knights won, everybody up in the air shouting and screaming. But you know what it costs for these guys to train? You know, that's something. The money could go towards that, or it could go towards some educational program. As a matter of fact, the lottery in Florida, I think, is somewhere in the region of $10 billion they have donated to education. Education, I mean, healthcare, I mean, you could use it for so many things. But the thing is, to get off this high horse thing about this and that, and get the treasury, get the money, I don't think it should go into the consolidated fund. I think it should go for a specific purpose.
Well, Brown does have some suggestions on how a national lottery should be administered to ensure maximum benefit.
Lottery Gaming Board now, I suppose if we have to get an adjunct or an additional area, I don't want, you don't want another layer of bureaucracy. You don't want that. But if you were to get another department or whatever office attached to the Lottery and Gaming Board and let that service the lottery. But the key to it is setting it up the right way.
Operation Justice serving up some tough fines to motorists over in Abaco. A team of officers executed outstanding warrants on Monday between the hours of 10 p.m. and 12 midnight. As a result, a total of 12 persons appeared before the magistrate court on outstanding traffic warrants. The cases were settled and warrants were canceled. And tonight we bring you a disturbing story which has local officials calling for answers and an animal advocate saddened and concerned. Joan Davis-Rolle has the details.
There are mounting concerns being raised amidst reports of alleged animal cruelty on Grand Bahama. According to the executive director of the Grand Bahama Humane Society, Tip Burrows, a gruesome discovery made recently has officials calling for answers.
We received a couple of calls last Wednesday about a dog that appeared to have drowned in a canal up off of Midshipman. So we went out and found that the dog was indeed dead, floating in the canal with a extremely heavy piece of chain around his neck that was also attached to a rope. And it appeared that either he fell in the canal with the chain and wasn't able to swim with it, or was put there. We don't know. There's no way to know. So we're hoping that someone would report the dog missing or come forward, and if they know whose dog it was. But we haven't gotten any response yet.
Burrows says that dogs are known as a man's best friend, but instead they've become the target of violent acts. She noted that this is not the first time that an incident of this nature has been discovered. She's appealing for the protection of all animals.
We just ask people to put themselves in their animal's place. Just because they're an animal doesn't make them lesser beings than us. They still deserve our care and compassion, even more so because they're helpless and depend on us for it. So just think how you would like to live. Look at how you have your pet living and see if that's a way you could be comfortable living. Chaining and caging dogs we believe is cruel and inhumane. Dogs are meant to be part of the family and companions to us, not just lawn ornaments.
Burrows says equally troubling is the growing number of pet owners forced to give up their pets.
We also have seen an increase in the number of people surrendering their pets because they can no longer afford to take care of them. So that is a concern, and we're just hopeful that the economy will improve at some point, because it has certainly affected many pets.
Mm-hmm. How many pets do you care for here?
At the moment, we have around 270 dogs and puppies, and about 90 cats and kittens.
Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Joan Davis-Rolle.
Stay with us, there's more news on the other side of the break.